Today, we are going to be covering President Trump's final pardons and commutations, okay? First of all, we are going to be starting off with Stephen K. Bannon, who was Trump's former chief strategist and was one of the main people who made Trump win in 2016. Through enforcing the nationalist agenda, he was able to get a lot of good executive orders passed in the first half of 2017 before he was sacked. Now, he's been charged with defrauding contributors to a privately funded effort to build Trump's wall along the Mexican borders. That was $1 million. In terms of that, he promised to build a part of the wall when Trump wasn't building it because he didn't have the funds in 2018 or 19, and he had said, you know what, you guys donate to me and we'll build part of it ourselves, privately done. And basically Bannon said, I won't take a penny from this, and then out of millions of dollars donated, I think he took like $1 million or like 1% of the money or something. So he did defraud people, and he is a grifter and a scumbag and a liar for doing that. But at the same time, we should have Bannon out of jail so that he could spread the populist message in War Room. So I guess that's a good enough reason to bail him out. That's another dub for populism, I guess, is for him to be pardoned. Now we have Eliot Brodie, who is a California businessman. He was a fundraiser for Trump's 2016 campaign, and then he became the deputy finance chairman for the Republican National Committee. Though, a couple months ago, he pleaded guilty to conspiring to violate foreign lobbying laws as a part to covert campaign to influence the Trump administration on behalf of Chinese and Malaysian interests. Mr. Brodie admitted to accepting $9 million from Joe Low, a Malaysian financier, some of which was then paid to an associate to push the Trump administration for the extradition of a Chinese dissident and drop a case related to an embezzlement scheme from a Malaysian sovereign wealth fund that the United States has been accused of Mr. Low of engineering. So that seems like a pretty complicated thing. I'll look it up right now, and we'll look in real time whether or not he deserves to be in jail right now. Of course, Trump has the reason to bail him out insofar that he's gotten millions of dollars from this guy, more or less. So we'll see right here. He's the son of Sherman Brodie. He's an educator, developer, and he's a Jew, so that's not a good sign. In terms of corruption and all this. One of his clients was Glenn Bell, founder of Taco Bell, that's based. So apparently he did do some good stuff in business, but at the same time, he did also have work for a company. He owns a private security company which provides services to the United States and other governments. So he owns a private contracting business, I suppose, like Blackwater. The company has hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts with the United Arab Emirates. So that's not a good sign. He also met MBS, He did a $650 million contract with the Saudis, but it fell apart. So that's not a good idea. So he does seem pretty corrupt there. He became interested in politics after 9/11. He joined the Republican Jewish Coalition, which is a terrible thing, I guess, for populism. He also donated to George Bush's presidential campaign. So he seems pretty kosher. He joined Trump in 2016. Let me see. He supported hawkish policies in the Middle East. He had a sex scandal where he paid $1.6 million for a woman's silence. Recent business. It had been reported that he paid Rick Gates $125,000. So should he have gone to jail? I mean, it depends what he was sentenced for, right? Had he been sentenced? This pardon's meh. Trump, I guess, owed him a favor, which explains why he did it. But he does seem like one of those Zionist deep state people. So meh, because I'm judging this by either Trump had a reason to do it politically and he should have done it for political expediency, as well as the other reason of maybe they were unjustifiably in prison. So I think this fills 1 out of 2. So this is not a terrible decision, but I think it's not a highly pious and moral decision to do. We have Anthony Lewandowski, a Silicon Valley star pioneer of self-driving car technology, was sentenced to 18 months in prison a couple months ago for stealing self-driving car trade secrets from Google. At the time of the sentencing, a federal judge ordered that Mr. Lewandowski would not be required to serve the sentence until coronavirus subsided. So I guess he stole secrets from Google for a self-driving car. Is that what it is? That doesn't seem like a big deal to me. So he's the son of a French diplomat. Okay, he seems to have been one of these really tall guys. Geez, 6'6". Okay, so Silicon Valley type of guy, civil lawsuit, criminal prosecution. I guess Trump, I don't know why he did this. Pleaded to one of 33 charges initially brought from the Department of Justice, trade secret theft. Okay, who did he steal it from? If it's Google, then that's not a big deal because I don't like Google. So, meh on this pardon. We have Kwame Kilpatrick, Robert Robin Hayes, Rick Renzi, and Randall Duke Cunningham. So Kwame Kilpatrick, the former mayor of Detroit, was sentenced during 2008. So this is another one. So he had been sentenced to 28 years after being convicted on 2,000 counts of racketeering and extortion. Okay. Then Mr. Hayes was a former chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party, receiving a full pardon after being accused of bribery and conspiracy to commit honest services wire fraud, along with several counts of making false statements. He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 1 year in probation. Rick Renzi was a former congressman from Arizona but was pardoned. In 2013, he was sentenced to 36 months in prison in association for a bribery scheme involving a Arizona land swap deal. Cunningham, a former representative of California, received a conditional pardon. He was sentenced to 8 years and 4 months in prison for taking $2.4 million in bribes from military contractors in support for smoothing the way for government contracts. So we have to look into Kwame Kilpatrick. I think I have heard of this guy, and he's a terrible mayor from Detroit. Red Eagle Politics, a friend of mine talked about this in a stream earlier where he said that he was a terrible mayor and he's corrupt as hell. So I wonder why Donald Trump pardoned him. What I do notice, though, is that he's really big. That's something I noticed. So as we go down here, he's over here meeting President Bush. Okay, whatever. But what did he do? What did he do here? So there was audits in Detroit, millions of dollars missing, I suppose. What did he do that was illegal? The murder of Tamara Green. Okay. Green's lawsuit. Seems like he did do some illegal stuff. Okay. Also, the Democratic governor tried to get rid of him. Okay. And there's a recall. Okay, so he's definitely a criminal. And what the... I don't know why Trump pardoned him, other than to make black people like him, I guess. I don't know. Didn't deserve a pardon, in my opinion. That's probably inexcusable. Now, in terms of the Hayes guy, Robert Hayes, let me look this up right now, and I'll tell you whether or not this was justified. 75 years old, so, okay. Okay, so he got charged with bribery. He tried to bribe Mike Causey, who was a North Carolina commissioner of insurance, in exchange for favorable treatment of Lindbergh's insurance firm, dismissal. So that's a very minor case, in my opinion, of being thrown in jail. He basically bribed an insurance thing. Not a big deal, in my opinion. Now, should he pardon him? Not really. I mean, what good is Mr. Hayes anyway? He's 75 years old. What is he going to do, right? I mean, not a big deal either way. So I guess he gets a pass. Rick Renzi did I do know more about him because I'm in Arizona, and he did do a land swap, I think, so that's not good. He should have gone to jail. So I don't know why you pardoned him. In terms of Cunningham, again, so he was basically one of the bureaucrats that was doing corrupt insider trading, I suppose you call it, with private contractors. That's not a good idea. I think that's inexcusable, in my opinion. I don't like that. Now, when we're talking about Lil Wayne had pleaded guilty of having illegally carried a gold-plated 45 caliber Glock handgun and ammunition as a felon while traveling on a private jet in 2019. Because of a previous gun conviction, he faced up to 10 years in prison, and he received a full pardon in October. He endorsed Trump, I know. So Lil Wayne basically had, I guess, a legal gold-plated gun, and it's illegal, I suppose, to be a felon with a gun. The way I view it is that I don't really care. Lil Wayne, Lil Tunechi, baby. No, so whatever. He does deserve a pardon, free easy. We have Kodak Black. The rapper Kodak Black, whose legal name is Bill Capri, although he was born in Houston, Octave, was granted a commutation. In 2019, he was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison for lying on background paperwork while trying to buy guns. He had served nearly half of the time. In addition to Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, 2 other figures related to the world of hip-hop were also granted clemency by Mr. Trump. Desire Perez, the chief executive officer of Roc Nation, which is Jay-Z's firm. The media company started by rapper Jay-Z was given a full pardon after being convicted in a drug conspiracy case in the 90s. And Michael Harris, known as Harry O, 59 years old, a founder and early financial backer of Death Row Records, received a commuted sentence. He served 30 years of a 25 to life sentence for conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree. Okay, so Kodak Black basically lied about getting guns. So I don't think he, again, technically should have gone to jail, but again, he is a rapper, free Kodak, that's right. It's kind of based. He gets a pass in terms of, and again, people are going to bring up, oh, but these blacks hate Trump. Okay, and it's based. Free Kodak, bro. Faggots, really? Oh, Mr. Blah, blah. He tried to kill another black person, but I'm a racist, so I don't really care, but I'm going to pretend to care because law and order. Yeah, who cares, dude? Fuck you. Who cares? This is based. Just freaking rappers, bro. That's awesome. That's epic. That's, to me, magic. Now, let's look up Michael Harris. I do not know all about Michael Harris, but we will look right now. Okay. Death Row Records, Snoop Dogg thinks Trump. I don't know what happened here, but we'll see. We'll see. He gave $1.5 million to Suge Knight to start Death Row. Okay, but what'd he do? I want to see what the charge was. Bum. Let me see if he's on Wikipedia. If not, I'm not going to bother. Okay, I think it's this one. No, it isn't. Okay, well, whatever. Conspiracy to murder, does that mean he killed someone, or did he get somebody killed? If he got somebody killed and he got a 25 to life and he's already served 30 years, then I think you could argue that he should be freed, so who cares? Ken Kirsten, Heli Nahmed, Albert J. Pirro Jr., and Shalom Weiss. Uh-oh. So, Kenneth Kirsten was a friend and associate of Jared Kushner, who once appointed him the editor-in-chief of the New York Observer. Was one of them. Harassment allegations against Mr. Kirsten surfaced in 2018 when he was under consideration for a seat on the board of the National Endowment for Humanities. And he was arrested late last year on cyber-stalking charges. Mark McCasey, Mr. Kirsten's defense lawyer, said that he had no role in Mr. Kirsten's whatever. It doesn't seem like a big deal here, but I'll look him up anyway. It's a Jared Kushner type of pardon, so that can't be too good, but we'll see what's going on. He's the younger brother of best-selling author Robert Kirsten. I wonder what books he wrote. Music career, whatever. Rudy Giuliani associate, that's based. Okay. Now let's look here. Presidential campaign, so he worked for Giuliani, fine. Harassment. Why? Where is it? So, a female Mount Sinai Hospital physician alleged that in 2015, Kirsten harassed her. Mount Sinai Hospital was so concerned about the harassment at the time that they hired somebody to protect the doctor for a few days. Okay. So what'd he do? Is there any proof? I guess there was no proof. So if that's the case, then he should have been pardoned because there's no proof that he did anything. Right? He didn't do nothing. Given the benefit of the doubt. So that's a good pardon, I suppose. Now, if we move on to Mr. Trump, as he pardoned one of New York's best-known art dealers, Hillel Nahmad, also known as Heli, a member of a wealthy, influential family of art collectors. He had served 5 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to a charge that he had led a sports gambling ring, which investigators said had ties to Russian American organized crime figures. So I guess he should have been freed because sports gambling sounds kind of cool, actually, so whatever. That's a pass. In the hour before his term expired, Mr. Trump also pardoned Albert J. Pirro Jr., an administration official. He was a businessman for the Republicans and husband of J Pirro from Fox News, right? Judge Janine, was convicted in 2000 of conspiracy and tax evasion and sentenced to over 2 years in federal prison. So I guess he dodged taxes, so he's a libertarian. Not a big deal here, actually, so whatever. No big dealio. I guess he dodged $1.2 million worth of taxes. Okay. It's fine. Not a big deal. Move on. Dr. Solomon Milken, 66, a major Democratic donor, an eye doctor who ran a series of clinics in Florida that fraudulently told Medicare patients that they had eye diseases and then performed medically unnecessary tests and procedures, falsely billing the federal government at least $42 million, according to the prosecutors. His remaining sentence was commuted. Wait, so how long was he in prison then? So he defrauded the government for $42 million. So that's a scumbag thing to do. 17-year sentence for this guy. 17 years for healthcare fraud. 66 years old. Was widely successful on clinics in Delray Beach. Okay. The biggest Medicare fraud in the nation's history. And what else happened here? I'm trying to look for what politically advantaged Trump to do this. Prosecutors claim that he claimed a bribery scheme. Okay. If Trump is pardoned, he will join other Palm Beach County residents to have benefited from Trump's largesse. Former Commissioner Mary McCartney and James Bat Mason was pardoned by Trump in December. Okay. So he did Medicare fraud. I guess Trump freed him. I honestly don't know why he did this. Seriously, I don't know why he did this. He's even a Democrat. I don't know why he did this. That's honestly weird. So I guess he doesn't get a pass. That's not good. William T. Walters, a wealthy sports gambler, had his sentence commuted. A jury convicted him in 2017 on charges related to the role of insider trading. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Okay. After he stopped representing Trump. Okay. Sports gambler. So if that's his crime, that's not a big deal. He's 74 years old, so he can't be that harmful. He's worth $100 million. Grew up poor in Kentucky. That's based. That's wholesome. He started gambling when he was 9. He bet on the Yankees, Dodgers, and the 55 World Series. Sports betting, insider trading. After using the so he cheated in gambling, I guess. Not a big deal. I guess this is a close friend of Trump. That's the case. If I had a good friend that did that, I would probably free him, right? Paul Erickson, the former boyfriend of Russian operative Maria Boutina, who was briefly pulled into the investigation of Trump by Robert S. Mueller III, the special counsel. Mr. Erickson was convicted last July of wire fraud and money laundering and sentenced to 84 months in prison on charges that related to his work in 2017 on a business deal in the Bakken oil fields of North Dakota. So we need to see what happened here. Wire fraud, all this white-collar crime, I suppose. 60 years old, born in South Dakota. Yeah, sure. He was... Club for Growth, okay. Senior Care, okay. Prayer Sentence, okay. So he founded Compass Care Senior Living Facility based in South Dakota. I guess he defrauded Medicare. Was that it? Hold on. He was writing bad checks. Okay. It's into an effort to defraud investors on oil development scheme. So I guess he did do some bad stuff. White collar. Not a big deal. Unfairly targeted by Mueller, probably, and he has a Trump friend, so. Now, Maria Boutina, friend of a Russian operative, that doesn't sound like a good thing. Sentenced to 18 months of prison after conspiring to act as a foreign agent. I honestly don't know about that. I'll just skip it. I don't know. Seems bad. George Gilmore, a New Jersey Republican power broker, was convicted last January of failure to file payroll taxes for employees and making a false statement on a loan application, was also given a full pardon. So I guess this guy did some small bad stuff as well. He looks old. I don't know why he did that. Yeah. So that's just, I think he's just doing favors for the RNC at this point, and I don't agree with that. It's understandable why he does this, but again, not good. He deserves a little slap for that. Eliot Weinstein, doesn't sound like a good name, was arrested more than 20 years in prison in 2014 for a real estate Ponzi scheme. The prosecutor said caused $200 million in losses, but he had the remaining sentence commuted. Okay. So how old is he? He doesn't have a Wikipedia, apparently. President Trump committed Eli Weinstein, who was sentenced. Wait, why? How old is he then? Damn it, I'm trying to find it. Because, oh no, he was in his 30s. Okay. So this is some juke corruption, I suppose. I don't know. So if he was like 40 years old and he had 20 years in prison, yeah, I mean, I think that's inexcusable as well. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. I guess that's him putting Israel first or something. That's not good. Robert Zangrillo, a Miami real estate developer who was charged with conspiring with a college consultant to bribe athletic officials, and the University of Southern California to designate his daughter as a recruit to the crew team, received a pardon. Dozens of pardons were charged in the case. Mr. Zangrillo had not pleaded guilty to bribe athletic. So he bribed a college to take their kid in, so that's not a big deal. Shouldn't have done it. Again, that seems like a political expediency thing. He just wants an ally in Miami, I guess. That's makes sense, but I don't agree with that. President Trump has repeatedly expressed sympathy for Paul Manafort, his 2016 chairman. 71 years old, had been sentenced to 2019 for 7.5 years in prison for his decade-long multi-million-dollar financial fraud scheme for his work in the former Soviet Union. Okay. So fuck Paul Manafort then. I don't care. Roger Stone. Let's go! Free Roger Stone. A longtime friend and advisor to Mr. Trump was sentenced in February 2020 for more than 3 years in prison. In a politically fraught case that the president at odds with Attorney General. Mr. Stone was convicted on 7 felony charges, including lying under oath. Okay, whatever. Yeah, Roger Stone did nothing wrong. And that FBI raid that they did against him was BS, I think. So that's Charles Kushner, which is Jared's father-in-law. No, wait, never mind. He's actual Jared's father. Okay. Yeah, no, what he did was he sexually blackmailed his brother-in-law, so he's not good. I understand why he did this. Obviously, that's his daughter's father-in-law, so of course he'd do that, but honestly, that's immoral. You shouldn't have done that. You know, the Kushner family's corrupt as fuck. George Papadopoulos and Alex Van der Zwaan, so I guess he's a European. George Papadopoulos, a foreign policy advisor to Trump's 2016 campaign, pleaded guilty in 2017 to making false statements to federal officials as a part of an investigation by the special counsel Robert S. Mueller III. Papadopoulos served 12 days in jail after lying to the FBI about his contacts with Russian intermediaries in 2016, so that seems like a Michael Flynn type of case. Okay, so he did nothing wrong, I guess. Duncan Hunter, Chris Collins, and Steve Stockman. So Duncan Hunter basically misused campaign funds to be a gamer, so whatever. Chris Collins, who is that? I will look this up right now. Sounds like Doug Collins, but obviously not. So we're going to look. He's 70 years old. He's a former U.S. representative, and we'll see what he did. So he's from New York? Okay. Now, what did he end up doing that's illegal? That's what I'm asking. So apparently he was arrested. Email Collins, drug trial allegations, wire fraud, commit security fraud. Okay, so I guess he was corrupt. He was like typically corrupt, and he was exposed. Okay. So by that logic, there should be like 200 congressmen in jail right now. But yeah. Duncan Hunter, fine. He can get pardoned. The other guy, Chris Collins, nope. I guess because he was an early endorser, he got to skate. So if since he got on the MAGA train early, that helped. Michael T. Flynn, Stockman, convicted in 2018 on charges of fraud, money laundering, was serving a 10-year sentence. Charged with stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars meant for charity and using it to pay for personal expenses. That doesn't seem good at all. So I'm going to have to look at Steve Stockman now, see if he deserves a pardon. I'm already saying no, but we'll see. He's 64 years old. He is a member of the Republican Party, congressman in the 36th Congressional District. Tried to primary Cornyn for whatever reason, and he lost. Okay. So he was a congressman as of 2015. He retired. He got killed in the primary against Cornyn. He had a criminal case. So he allegedly conspired to use contributions designated for charity to fund his campaign for personal use, a felony. Okay. But what did he use it on? Mail-in wire fraud. Okay, this just seems corrupt. Fuck it. Yeah, no pardon. None of these three should get a pardon. Well, Hunter's based. Michael T. Flynn, okay. Michael T. Flynn, a former national security advisor, pleaded guilty twice to lying to the FBI about his investigations with a Russian diplomat. Okay. So he should get a pardon because the investigation into him was BS, and he was just trying to cover up him talking to the Russians because he knew that they would make a bigger deal than it was out of it, so that's why. Trump issued full pardons to Nicholas Slatton and 3 other former U.S. service members convicted on charges related to the killing of Iraqi civilians while working for Blackwater in 2007. Okay, so they killed 17 civilians were murdered. Okay. I'm going to have to take a look. Okay. Where's the Wikipedia? Where's the Wikipedia, man? Killing 14 civilians in Iraq. Witnesses describe how the American man ambushed the civilians unprovoked, firing on Baghdad's Nassar Square with heavy gunfire and grenade launchers. Okay. I wonder what the circumstances are. Obviously, the Muslims blend in with each other, so how would they know that they're terrorists or not? Who knows? As of right now, I don't know if he should have been pardoned. We'll just skip that. Joe Arpaio was pardoned. Based. He's a king. Apparently, he went to jail for treating the prisoners bad. I don't feel sympathy for those bastards. Conrad Black was a former press baron and friend to President Trump who was gotten a full pardon after 12 years in jail after sentencing for fraud and obstruction of justice. Okay. He wrote a flattering book about Donald Trump. Interesting. Wikipedia. He is approximately 76 years old, so he's not a danger. Let's see where he went to jail here. Fraud. $6 million. Embezzlement. What did he do exactly? Supreme Court ruled that there was kickbacks, bribes, honest services fraud. Okay. Pardon. So basically, he had already been out of jail for 6 years, and Trump pardoned him to get the arrest out of the record, I guess. So, who cares? That's not a big deal. He gets a pass. Former Governor Rod Blagojevich was sentenced in 2011 to 14 years in prison for trying to sell or trade to the highest bidder a Senate seat that Mr. Obama vacated when he was elected president. So Rod basically tried to sell Obama's Senate seat. He was already in prison for 9 years, had 5 to serve. I guess Rod, if he got out of jail, is probably not going to do corrupt things because everybody knows what he's doing. And Rod did go for a couple weeks on the defensive for Trump, so I guess that was the point. Meh on that one. I don't know. Dinesh D'Souza, who had gotten a presidential pardon after making illegal campaign contributions in 2014. So I guess he donated too much to a political candidate, not a big deal. Edward DeBartolo Jr. Was a former owner of the San Francisco 49ers, pled guilty in 1998 to concealing an extortion plot. Mr. DeBartolo was prosecuted after he gave Edwin Edwards, the influential former governor of Louisiana, $400,000 to secure a riverboat gambling license for a gambling consortium. He avoided prison. He was fined $1 million and suspended for a year by the NFL. So apparently, he had bribed somebody to build a casino, basically. Not a big... again, bad, but, not crazy. So I guess he gets a pass because he had already been out of jail anyway. So, Alice Mary Johnson was serving life in federal prison for a nonviolent drug conviction before her case was brought on to Mr. Trump's attention by reality television star Kim Kardashian. The president's decision to commute her sentence freed Ms. Johnson, who had been locked up in Alabama since 1996 on charges related to cocaine distribution and money laundering. Mr. Trump later pardoned her over a year ago. Jack Johnson. Okay, I already know about this. She basically sold a ton of cocaine, I think, in the South, right? Okay, she is 65. I mean, I think a 65-year-old black woman is not a danger to society. So she had been... Okay, hold on. She involved in drug trade after she lost her job, got involved into gambling addiction. Okay. Growing up as one of the children of sharecroppers, that's interesting. Sentenced to life without parole because she had been a part of Tennessee-based cocaine trafficking organization. Traced her to Colombian drug dealers based off of Texas. She sold approximately 2,000 to 3,000 kilograms of cocaine. So that's like 6,000 pounds of cocaine. So that obviously hurt the lives of many, many thousands of people. So, in this specific case, considering the press that she got when she got freed, I suppose she wouldn't do anything illegal anymore. So in this case, she's not going to be recidivizing. But on principle, she should be locked in a cell forever because she did ruin the lives of many, many families. Jack Johnson, Susan B. Anthony, and Zay Jeffries. So Jack Johnson was the first black heavyweight boxing champion, was tarnished by a racially tainted criminal conviction in 1913 for transporting a white woman across state lines that haunted him after his death. Okay, whatever. That's a pass. Susan B. Anthony was arrested for voting illegally and was fined $100. He pardoned her. Okay, whatever. Zay Jeffries, a metal scientist whose contributions to the Manhattan Project and other developments of armor-piercing artillery helped the Allies win in World War II, was granted a posthumous pardon after he broke an antitrust violation and was fined $2,500 like 70 years ago. So that's another pass. Who cares? Bernard Carrick, who I see on Twitter all the time. 10 years ago, Bernard Carrick, a former New York City police commissioner, was sentenced 4 years in prison after pleading guilty to 8 felony charges, including tax fraud and lying to White House officials. Mr. Trump said he heard more than a dozen people pardoning Mr. Carrick, including Mr. Giuliani. Mr. Carrick's prominence dates back to the 1993 campaign for mayor in New York City when he served as Mr. Giuliani's bodyguard and chauffeur. After the pardon was issued, he put gratitude. Okay. So this guy's a corrupt NYPD commissioner, I guess, in the Giuliani era. I think he was there for 9/11 and he let it happen. And a lot of these people were in on it, and not to be a complete conspiracy nut, but I'm pretty sure there was explosions in the World Trade Center that he didn't talk about because he's a corrupt NYPD Guido piece of shit. Well, is he a Guido? Whatever. No good. Scooter Libby, who was Louis Libby Jr., known as Scooter, was then Vice President Dick Cheney's top advisor before he was convicted in 2007 of 4 felony counts, including perjury and obstruction of justice, in connection with the disclosure of identity of CIA officer Valerie Plame. Mr. Libby maintained his innocence for years, and his portrayal as a victim of unfair prosecution ultimately found favor with Mr. Trump. So, I mean, if he was working for Dick Cheney, he could not have been good. He's 70 years old, so he's on the older side. In terms of, he's a WASP. No, not really. He's a Jew, actually. No good. For populism, not a win. He is a neocon, apparently. And we'll look at the Plame affair, 2003. I was listening to Ryan Dawson, who knows about conspiracy, and apparently Scooter Libby is one of the people in it, so he definitely shouldn't have gotten a pardon, and that was not good. Clint Lawrence, Major Matthew Goldstein, Chief Petty Officer Edward Gallagher. Okay. He issued full pardon to Clint Lawrence, a former Army lieutenant who had been serving a 19-year sentence for the murder of 2 civilians, and Major Matthew Goldstein, an Army Special Forces officer facing the murder charges of an unarmed Afghan, believing he was a Taliban bomb maker. President Trump also reversed the demotion of Chief Petty Officer Edward Gallagher, a Navy SEAL who had been acquitted of murder charges but convicted of a lesser case of a high-profile war crime case. These are soldiers, so you should give them the benefit of the doubt politically. This is not a big deal. Now, I think that murdering civilians is bad, but a lot of these Muslims look similar to each other, so I don't know. Could it be an accident, right? Michael R. Milken. He was the billionaire junk bond king, as well as a Wall Street financier. In the 80s and the 90s, he pled guilty to securities fraud, conspiracy charges, and was sentenced 10 years in prison. Though his sentence was later reduced to 2, he agreed to pay $600 million in fines and penalties. Mr. Milken did not have a pardon or commutation application pending in the Justice Department's Pardons Office, meaning that the president made the decision entirely without official department input. Among those arguing for Mr. Milken to be pardoned was Mr. Giuliani. So that seems like a corrupt thing that Trump did because Giuliani told him so. So that's a personal favor that he did. That's corrupt. This guy ripped off millions of dollars. He should be in a jail cell for the rest of his life. Bad Trump, like how Ben Shapiro says, bad Trump. Dwight L. Hammond and Stephen D. Hammond, okay, so that's a father and son, were Oregon cattle ranchers who had been serving 5-year sentences for arson on federal land. Their cases conspired in anti-government groups' weeks-long standoff at a national wildlife refuge in 2016 and brought widespread attention to anger over federal land management. The occupation led by the Bundy family drew militia volunteers who commanded government buildings and vehicles and tactical gear and long guns, promising to defend the family. During this campaign, Mr. Trump played to the sense of the Western grievance and pardoned the Hammonds, or a signal to the conservatives that he was sympathetic. So we'll see. Oregon. So when was this? Was this what we call it? Bunny Ridge? What was it called? So what do you do? Arson. So they set fires on federal land because the federal government was like doing corrupt stuff, I guess. So I guess it's pretty based actually, because the federal, like the National Wildlife Refuge, that's all faggotry. The government should not protect that land. It's doing that to basically it's crony capitalism, because what they'll do is that they'll say, well, this land is for the public, but we will basically make you pay for it though, even though that's not the point. Or they'll be like, oh, we're gonna contract this land to special people that donate to politicians and stuff. It's not a good thing. Issued pardons. Okay, that's a good pardon, I suppose. David H. Safarivian, so I guess he's an Armenian or something. Top federal procurement officer under President George W. Bush, was sentenced in 2009 to a year in prison for covering up his ties to Jack Abramoff, the disgraced lobbyist whose corruption became a symbol of excess in the Washington influence peddling. Mr. Safavian was convicted. Okay, so why did he... I don't think he should have pardoned this guy. Again, who the hell is telling him to pardon these Bush people? I don't know why. So he got sentenced to a year in prison. So he should have been out of jail for 10 years. So I guess Trump did that to get that out of his record. But this guy doesn't seem like he's America first. So why clean up his record? That seems like a bad pardon. Angela Stanton. So she's ugly and black. Angela Stanton, an author, television personality, motivational speaker, served 6 months in home confinement in 2007 for her role in a stolen vehicle ring. Her life in a Real Housewife explores her difficult upbringing. Okay. So what she do exactly? I'm gonna look this up right now. Okay. So those are the pardons, right? Wow, that's a lot of pardons, and I went through every single one of them, dude. I am based as hell. Damn, she ugly. Damn, a bit ugly, bro. No, okay. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking black. I'm gonna start saying this now. She is the goddaughter of Alveda King, niece of Martin Luther King, so I guess she's 2 degrees of separation with Martin Luther King. Charged on federal conspiracy charges in 2004, served 2 years in prison. She gave birth during her sentence. Gross. How the hell does that happen? You. Launched a campaign to challenge incumbent Senator John Lewis. Why? Okay. So, let's keep looking. Staten King made several anti-LGBTQ statements comparing LGBTQ rights to pedophilia. Okay, so that's pretty based. That alone should get her the pardon. And she did support QAnon. That's Wikipedia saying, so I don't trust it. But that seems like that seems interesting for sure. Definitely for sure. For sure. Now, we're looking at the Wikipedia list of pardons. Todd Boulanger, who the hell is this? He is an American lobbyist. He was a figure in the Jack Abramoff scandal. Okay. So they scammed Native American tribes. That's not good. I don't know why Trump pardoned him. He's associated with Roy Blunt, and I don't like Roy Blunt. I don't know why he did this. Casey Urlacher, who the hell is this? Carl Andrew Boggs. I'll go through people that have Wikipedias. Okay. Sella was an Air Force officer in the Mossad. Handled Jonathan Why did Trump... Oh my god, why did he pardon these Jews? Dude, what the fuck is wrong with him? I suppose Sheldon Adelson told him to do it before he died or something, but still. These Jews are like double agents. It's ridiculous. Pisses me off. That's one of the things I don't like about Trump, is that he has too much Zionist influence in him. You know, he's like married into Jewish family. And like really high up too. Offshore sports gambling ring. Yeah, sports gambling is fine to me. I don't see what the problem is there. Okay, we'll keep going. Ton of pardons. A lot of the 90% of these people, I don't know who they are. Lil Wayne based. So many people. So guys, I mean, I'm tired of talking. My voice is like hurts almost. So I don't want to keep talking. I already covered these basically. So guys, thank you for watching so far. Ton of pardons. I went over pretty much every single one. I went over like 100 basically at this point. I'd say these are 50-50. A lot of people deserve to get pardoned. I think Steve Bannon was a highlight. I think a lot of other people that went to jail over stupid stuff like sports gambling, basically like gambling, like fantasy football at this point. I mean, those people should have not have gone to jail for that. But again, he did give pardons to people that he owed favors to, I suppose, including a lot of corrupt Republicans that aren't even, MAGA or America First, including that Bush attorney. That's not good. Scooter Libby, not a good pardon. And again, I'm looking at it from like, okay, what's politically advantageous and also what's morally correct. Clearly, the Brandon Carrick thing, that was a political thing. You look at Kushner's dad, that was a political or personal thing. But some of these Bush people should not have been treated. Rick Renzi, I don't know why he did this. So again, 50-50. These pardons, of course, are ritual for Republicans and Democrats alike to do in their last day of the presidency. But one thing that I do have to criticize is that President Trump did do a lot of the same things that Clinton did in terms of pardons, though this list of pardons is less corrupt than any other president that I can think of over the last 30 years. Because, if you remember right, Bill Clinton did pardon a Puerto Rican nationalist terrorist that bombed buildings in New York and killed several people. And Richard Nixon did pardon a mafia serial killer, I think. So, there could be worse. None of the people that Trump hired, pardon that I could think of, killed anyone directly. So it's not that bad, right? He didn't pardon any pedophiles that I know of. He didn't do that. So basically white collar fraud, and white collar fraud of people that are typically like over the age of 60 or 70, low recidivism rate. Obviously, if you're 75 years old and you get pardoned, right? So, I mean, not a big deal. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Took me forever to make this video, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it because it took me a long time. What would I rate Trump's pardons? Given the historical average and the trend, I would say Trump's pardons are an 8 out of 10. But in my personal opinion, weighing in both the pragmatic reasons to pardon people and the personal reasons to do it, I think Trump got a 5 out of 10. Seriously lacking was Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, and the Silk Road guy, I guess. Maybe he could have pardoned Baked Alaska. That would have been hilarious. But anyways, guys, again, remember, Mitch McConnell and other people were telling him, we're going to convict you. You won't be able to run in 4 years if you pardon Assange. So maybe that's why he cucked. But guys, don't hate Trump for this. I mean, I saw this coming. I don't know what to think. I'm gray-pilled on the pardon question. He didn't pardon himself, though. That's one thing. So I guess he won't get it. I don't think he'll get in trouble then. He must feel, confident that he won't go to jail. Anyways, I'm actually going to leave this time. Subscribe to the channel. Comment down below who you think is deserved a pardon that didn't get one besides Snowden and Assange, because I already said they deserved it. And goodbye, finally.